Okay, so for some background, I feel like I'm stuck in the middle of some weird family mess that I never asked for. And honestly, I don't know if I'm being paranoid or if everyone else is just off. My husband's ex-wife has been acting really strange ever since I tried to be nice to her, and now his whole family is giving me looks. Am I the idiot for wanting to have a normal relationship with my stepson's mom? So I, female, 26, married my husband Jake, male 34, back in February, and honestly things have been pretty good, except for all the blended family stuff, which is way harder than those blogs make it sound. His son Tyler, male, 14, is with us every other week, and he's actually a really good kid. Just, I don't know, he's been acting weird lately, like hiding in his room more and being super polite in that fake way that makes you nervous, you know? Anyway, I'm about 10 weeks pregnant now, due in late fall, and I've been trying so hard to do everything right as a stepmom because honestly, my last relationship was a disaster, and I really want this family thing to work out. I've been reading all these articles about blended families, and they all say the same thing. Communication with the ex is key. Be supportive of their relationship, don't try to replace the bio mom, blah blah blah. The thing is, money's been really tight since we found out about the baby. Jake's already paying child support, and now we're looking at baby costs on top of everything else. Tyler's been asking about this expensive basketball camp this summer, and I can tell Jake feels bad that we might not be able to afford it. I mean, the kid's grades have been getting better, and he's really into basketball, so I wanted to help figure something out. So last week, I'm at the grocery store getting my prenatal vitamins from the pharmacy. Ugh, the horse pills are disgusting, by the way. And Tyler's mom, Lisa, female, 38, gets in line behind me for her prescription. She notices the vitamins and congratulates me on the pregnancy, which was actually really sweet. I thought this was like a sign or whatever, that we should try to get along better. I mentioned how Tyler's been asking about the basketball camp costs and how I want to help, but I don't want to step on her toes or anything. She actually seemed to appreciate that I was thinking about how much everything costs for everyone, because let's be real, everything's expensive these days. She suggested we get coffee to talk about Tyler's activities and figure things out together. Honestly, I was so excited about this. Like finally, we could be adults about co-parenting, and I could prove I'm not trying to replace her or whatever. I texted Jake about it, and he just sent back a thumbs up emoji, which, okay, I guess that's support. So we meet at this little coffee place near Tyler's school the next afternoon. Things started off really nice, actually. We're sharing funny stories about Tyler being obsessed with basketball and how he knows all these random player stats, but can't remember to put his dishes in the dishwasher. Lisa was really relaxed and started asking about my job and background, just normal getting to know you stuff. I was feeling so good about it that I got excited and showed her the ultrasound photo on my phone. I told her I'm about 10 weeks along and due in late fall, and how Tyler's going to be such a good big brother. She seemed interested and asked the usual pregnancy questions. Morning sickness, weird cravings, doctor visits, all that. But then, I don't know, something shifted. She started asking more specific questions about my symptoms and when exactly I'm due. I answered everything honestly, but she got this weird look on her face. Like she didn't believe me or something. She asked if I was tired a lot, which, I mean, not really. I've been lucky with symptoms, I guess. And when I mentioned already gaining a little weight, she looked confused and said something like, "Oh, that's interesting. Most women don't show much at 10 weeks." Which made me feel self-conscious because maybe I'm just getting fat. I don't know. The whole vibe got uncomfortable after that. She started using this super fake sweet voice and saying she's just so excited for Tyler to have a sibling, but something felt off about it. Coffee ended with awkward hugs and promises to definitely do this again soon that we both knew were lies. Jake was working late that night, again, so I couldn't really talk to him about how weird the whole thing was. I keep replaying the conversation in my head, trying to figure out what I said wrong. Maybe I was too eager. Or maybe she's just not ready to be friends yet, and I should have waited longer. But here's the thing that really bugs me. Tyler came home from his mom's the next day, and he was being extra polite again. Like when I asked about homework, he said, "Yes, ma'am, I'll get right on that," instead of his usual, "Yeah, okay." Something happened during that car ride home, and I have no idea what. I tried asking Jake about it, but he just shrugged and said, Lisa probably just needs time to adjust, and then went back to scrolling through work emails. I swear sometimes I think he'd rather deal with spreadsheets than his own family mess. The whole thing is making me paranoid. Like, I was just trying to be nice and include her in pregnancy stuff because Tyler's going to be a big brother, and I thought she'd want to be involved. But now I'm wondering if I said something offensive or if she thinks I'm trying to take over or what. Am I crazy for thinking we could all just get along? I mean, we're going to be in each other's lives for the next however many years because of Tyler. Wouldn't it be better if we were friends instead of doing this awkward, polite thing forever? I really want this family to work. My last boyfriend dumped me after 5 years saying he wasn't ready for commitment, and I finally found someone who actually wants a future together. I don't want to mess it up by having problems with his ex, you know. Maybe I'm overthinking everything because of pregnancy hormones or whatever, but something felt off about that whole coffee meeting, and I can't shake it. Am I the idiot for trying to be friends with Lisa when maybe she just wants to keep things separate? Should I have minded my own business about the basketball camp costs? Edit. Since so many are asking, no, I didn't tell Jake about the weird vibes during coffee because he's been super stressed about money lately, and I didn't want to add more problems. Also, yes, Tyler does seem to like me most of the time. He helped start planning the nursery last weekend and was actually excited about looking at paint color ideas. To those asking about the timeline, Jake and I got married in February, and I found out I was pregnant in early April. So yeah, it happened pretty quick after the wedding. We weren't trying, but we weren't exactly being careful either, if you know what I mean. Sometimes life just happens fast. And before anyone asks, yes, Lisa and Jake have been divorced for like 3 years now, so it's not some fresh wound situation. I thought enough time had passed that we could all be mature adults about this. Also, I keep seeing comments about red flags, but honestly, I think Lisa was just having an off day. She's an elementary school teacher, so she's probably used to being suspicious when kids tell stories that don't add up. Maybe she was just in work mode or something. Now for the first update. Update. You guys were right about things getting weirder. Things have gotten so much worse since my last post, and honestly, I don't even know where to start. I've been putting off writing this update because I keep hoping it will all make sense, but it doesn't at all. So remember how I mentioned Tyler, my stepson, male 14, was being all weird and polite after that coffee thing with Lisa, his mom. Well, apparently that was just the beginning, because holy shit, you guys, I found out he's been stealing from our neighbors. Like actually stealing stuff and trying to sell it online. I'm still processing this, honestly. I know some of you said in the comments that kids act out when there's family stress, but I never thought. I mean, he's always been such a good kid, you know? Gets decent grades, helps around the house without being asked, usually. Never been in trouble at school or anything. But apparently, I don't know him as well as I thought I did. Okay, so backing up a bit, and I probably should have mentioned this in my first post, but everything's been so chaotic. Jake, my husband, has been working even later than usual lately, and when he is home, he's been super stressed about money, like more than the normal babies are expensive stress. I kept hearing him on phone calls in his office with the door closed, which isn't totally weird, but he usually doesn't hide work calls from me. Last week, I'm doing Tyler's laundry. I know. He's 14 and should probably do his own, but I was trying to be the helpful stepmom, and also, I had nervous energy because pregnancy makes me want to organize everything constantly. Anyway, I'm putting away his clean basketball uniforms in his dresser, and I noticed the bed skirt looks all bunched up weird under his bed. So I'm trying to straighten it out because it was bothering me. Again, pregnancy brain makes me notice every little thing that's out of place, and I feel something hard underneath. I pull up the bed skirt, and there's this cardboard box shoved way back under there. I probably shouldn't have opened it, but it's in my house, and I was concerned maybe he was hiding something dangerous or inappropriate or whatever. So I open the box, and there's all this random stuff in there. Garden tools, some decorative ceramic thing, a small lantern, even someone's reading glasses. Plus, there were like $300 in cash, mostly 20s and 10s, and printed pages from eBay with item descriptions and prices highlighted. Tyler has been taking stuff from our neighbors and looking up how much he can sell their stuff for online. But here's the thing that really messed me up. When I was looking through the printed pages more carefully, I realized he'd been planning this for weeks. He had notes about which neighbors leave their garage doors open, what times people aren't home, even stuff about which houses have the most expensive-looking yard decorations. This wasn't some impulsive kid mistake. He'd been thinking about this and planning it out. I called Jake immediately, but of course he was in another one of his mysterious closed-door meetings, so I had to wait like 2 hours before he called me back. When I told him what I found, he got really quiet for a long time, and then just said, "I'll be home in 20 minutes. Don't say anything to Tyler yet." And I kept thinking about how Tyler's been helping elderly neighbors with yard work lately, which I thought was so sweet and responsible. Turns out he was using that as cover to scope out what they had worth taking. God, I feel so stupid for not realizing. When Jake got home, he looked at everything. He said he'd suspected something was up because Mrs. Henderson from down the street had called earlier asking if Tyler might have accidentally taken her garden trowel after helping with her flower beds. Apparently, she posted about it in our neighborhood Facebook group, and 2 other people commented that they'd had small items go missing after Tyler offered to help them too. Jake said he was hoping it was all just a misunderstanding, but obviously, it wasn't. We confronted Tyler when he got home from school, and guys, he completely broke down. Like sobbing, hyperventilating, the whole thing. Through all the crying, he kept saying he was trying to help and didn't want to be expensive anymore. And honestly, it took us forever to figure out what he was even talking about. Turns out he overheard Jake on the phone with his lawyer several weeks ago talking about child support calculations and heard something about "we can't afford both" and "something's got to give." Tyler thought that meant his dad was going to have to choose between supporting him or supporting the new baby, and he was trying to make money to help with family expenses so he wouldn't be the problem. I mean, Jesus. This poor kid has been carrying around all this anxiety about whether his own father can afford to take care of him, and instead of talking to anyone about it, he decided to start stealing from neighbors to try to fix the money situation himself. I don't even know how to process that level of messed up. Jake tried to explain that the lawyer call was about adjusting child support because of the new baby. Apparently there's some standard calculation thing, but not about choosing between kids or whatever Tyler thought he heard. But you could tell Tyler didn't really believe him because why would he? From a 14-year-old's perspective, new baby equals more expenses, equals less money for everything else, including him. The worst part is that Tyler asked if it would be better if he just lived with his mom full-time, so dad wouldn't have to pay for him anymore. Like, this kid is willing to give up half his time with his father because he thinks he's too much of a financial burden. It's heartbreaking, honestly. We've returned all the stuff we could identify to the neighbors, and Jake made Tyler apologize to everyone in person, which was embarrassing for all of us. Mrs. Henderson was actually really sweet about it and said she could tell he was a good kid who'd just gotten confused about things. Some of the other neighbors were less understanding. I don't blame them, but it's awkward as hell now when I see them at the mailbox or whatever. The money part is weird though, because Tyler claims he sold some of the items to kids at school, but won't say exactly what or to who. He gave us all the cash he had, but Jake thinks there might be more transactions we don't know about. Honestly, at this point, I don't even want to dig deeper because I'm emotionally exhausted from all of this. And here's the thing that's really bothering me. Tyler has been asking Lisa, his mom, all these weird questions during their car rides about how much babies cost and whether stepmoms ever change their minds about wanting stepkids around. Lisa called Jake about it because she was concerned, but she also seemed, I don't know, like she was fishing for information about our family situation. The whole conversation felt like there was hidden meaning I didn't understand. I'm starting to think there's way more going on with this whole family situation than I realized when I married into it. Like, everyone has been having conversations and making assumptions about me and the baby, and nobody's actually talking directly to each other about anything. Tyler's grounded, obviously, but Jake and I are also going to start family counseling because clearly we're not handling this blended family thing as well as we thought we were. I feel terrible that Tyler's been this worried about money and family stuff without us realizing it. And I feel guilty that my pregnancy has added this extra layer of stress to everything, even though logically, I know it's not my fault. I keep wondering if Lisa said something to Tyler after our coffee meeting that made him more anxious about his place in our family. She's been asking him a lot more questions about home life lately, according to Jake, which is probably normal for a concerned mom, but I don't know. The timing feels suspicious. Anyway, I just wanted to update you all because some of you were asking how things were going with the family stuff. Turns out they were going much worse than I realized, just in ways I never would have predicted. I guess the silver lining is that at least now we know Tyler's been struggling with this stuff instead of him just bottling it up forever. But honestly, this blended family thing is harder than I thought it would be. For those asking about the pregnancy stuff, everything's fine there. I'm about 13 weeks now and finally starting to feel more human again. Baby's healthy according to last week's appointment. I just wish the family stuff would calm down so I could actually enjoy being pregnant instead of constantly worrying about step-family politics. Thanks for letting me vent. This whole situation is just a lot. Now for the second update. My baby shower turned into a complete disaster, and I honestly don't even know where to start. Okay, so I was feeling hopeful after my last post because Tyler seemed to be doing better after we had that big talk about the stealing situation and money stress. Like, he's been going to counseling sessions with Jake and me, and things felt like they were actually improving for once. I'd noticed Jake taking more calls from his mom lately, but figured it was just normal family check-ins since we announced the pregnancy. I thought maybe we could finally have something normal and happy happen. So my two best friends from work, Sarah and Jess, offered to throw me a small baby shower this past Saturday. Nothing fancy, obviously, because money's still tight, just some balloons and cake at our house. I was actually really excited about it because I've been so stressed about all the family problems that I just wanted one afternoon to focus on the baby and feel normal again, you know? We planned it for Saturday afternoon when Tyler was with us. He's every other week, remember? And honestly, he seemed excited about it too. He kept asking if he could help with anything else. It was really sweet, actually. He even asked if he could wrap the gift he got for the baby, which was this little basketball onesie that said Future MVP on it. The shower was supposed to start at 2 p.m., and Sarah and Jess showed up around noon to set up. Nothing expensive or over the top, because honestly we couldn't afford it anyway, and I didn't want to seem demanding or whatever. Tyler was being so helpful and sweet about everything. He kept saying how excited he was about being a big brother. Sarah actually commented on how lucky I was that my stepson was so welcoming about the new baby, instead of being jealous like she'd heard some kids are. Everything was going fine, like genuinely fine for once. We were playing that dumb game where you guess baby food flavors, and I was opening presents and feeling actually happy about being pregnant instead of stressed about family stuff. And then, around 3:30, Jake's mom Helen shows up, completely unannounced. She just walks in through the front door carrying this huge stack of photo albums and told us she hoped she wasn't interrupting, but Tyler had texted her about the shower and she wanted to share some family memories with my friends. Which, okay, that's weird timing, but she's my mother-in-law, so whatever, right? Tyler looked a bit confused. Apparently his casual mention of the shower in a text had been taken as more of an invitation than he'd intended, but he wasn't upset or anything. He gave her a hug, and she started asking about the gifts and acting interested in everything. At first, it seemed harmless. She sat down with us and started flipping through the photo albums, talking about how exciting it was to have another grandbaby on the way. She mentioned that Lisa had called her recently, asking questions about our family situation, which got her thinking about patterns and looking through old photos. But then she got to this section with pictures from when Lisa, Tyler's mom, was pregnant with him, and things got strange. She started showing everyone these photos of Lisa at different stages of pregnancy and making comments about how Lisa was showing at 12 weeks and how interesting it was that women carry differently. And I'm sitting there like, okay, why are we comparing my pregnancy to your son's ex-wife's pregnancy from 15 years ago? But it got worse. She kept asking me really specific questions about my symptoms and doctor visits. Like, had I been to the doctor yet? Yes, obviously. And whether I had ultrasound photos to show everyone. I do, but they're on my phone and the quality isn't great. She asked if I was tired a lot, and when I said not really, she got this weird look and said, that's unusual for someone so early in their second trimester. My friends were starting to look uncomfortable because Helen was basically interrogating me about my pregnancy instead of celebrating it. Sarah tried to change the subject a few times, but Helen kept steering it back to pregnancy stuff and comparing me to the photos of Lisa. The worst part was when she asked why I always went to doctor appointments alone and whether Jake had seen any ultrasounds yet. I explained that Jake's been working crazy hours and we're trying to save money on time off. Plus, it's still early, so the appointments are quick. But Helen looked skeptical and said something like, "Most first-time fathers are more involved from the beginning." I was getting annoyed, but trying to stay polite, because what else do you do when your mother-in-law is being weird at your own baby shower? Tyler was texting on his phone a bunch, which I figured was normal teenager stuff. But apparently, he was texting Lisa about what was happening because his phone kept buzzing and he looked increasingly uncomfortable. Around 4:30, Jake finally got home from work. He'd been doing inventory at one of the job sites, and I could tell immediately that something was wrong by his face when he walked in. Helen waved him over and started showing him the same photo comparisons she'd been making with me. I couldn't hear everything they were saying, but I caught bits and pieces like, "Timeline doesn't add up," and "You need to be sure about these things." And I couldn't believe this was happening at my baby shower. Jake's phone kept buzzing too, and he kept declining calls. Tyler came back from the kitchen looking really upset and sat down next to me, but wouldn't make eye contact. And then, God, this is where everything went completely insane. Helen was still talking to Jake in the corner, and I heard her say something about some women fake these things to trap men, and Tyler just completely lost it. He started crying and yelling at Helen to stop saying mean things about me, and that I wasn't lying, and why would I lie about the baby? Everyone got quiet. Sarah and Jess looked mortified. Helen looked shocked that Tyler had overheard. Jake looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him up. And I'm sitting there in the middle of my own baby shower, realizing that my husband's family thinks I'm lying about being pregnant. Tyler was sobbing and kept saying I wasn't lying and that he'd helped me pick out paint colors for the nursery and that I show him ultrasound pictures. Helen tried to calm him down, but he was just done with all of it. He yelled about how everyone keeps saying mean things about me, and he was tired of it, and that I was nice to him and having his baby brother, and they were all being horrible. And then he ran upstairs and slammed his door. My friends packed up their stuff so fast and made excuses about needing to leave. I don't blame them, honestly. Who wants to be in the middle of someone else's family problems? After they left, it was just me, Jake, and Helen standing in our living room while Tyler cried upstairs. Helen tried to explain that she wasn't accusing me of anything, just that the timeline seemed unusual and she was concerned about Jake. But what timeline? I'm pregnant, I have doctor appointments, I have ultrasound photos. What exactly am I supposed to be lying about? Jake finally told his mom she needed to leave and that we'd talk about this later. She gathered up all her photo albums and left, but not before saying something about how she was just looking out for her son and hoped she was wrong about her suspicions. After she left, Jake and I had this really awkward conversation where he admitted that he's been having doubts about, I don't even know what exactly, the timing, whether the baby is his. He wasn't clear, and honestly, I was too shocked to ask the right questions. He kept saying things like, "I trust you, but the math seems off, and my mom has a point about some things, and I can't even process this. I'm 13 weeks pregnant, we're married. What exactly is the conspiracy theory here?" The worst part is that Tyler is now caught in the middle of whatever this is. He came downstairs eventually and apologized for yelling, but said he didn't understand why everyone was being weird and mean about the baby. I tried to explain that there was just some confusion, but honestly, I don't understand it either. Jake's been sleeping in the guest room since Saturday night. Tyler went back to his mom's yesterday instead of staying through Sunday like usual. And I'm sitting here surrounded by unopened baby gifts, wondering what the hell just happened to my life. I've been pregnant for 3 months. I have medical records. I have ultrasound photos. I have morning sickness and weird food cravings and all the normal pregnancy stuff. What exactly am I supposed to be faking here? Maybe I'm missing something obvious, but I genuinely don't understand what Helen thinks is going on, or why Jake is entertaining any of this instead of telling his mother to back off. This was supposed to be a happy day, and instead it turned into some weird intervention where my husband's family accused me of, I don't even know what exactly. I'm just so tired of this. I thought we were past all the blended family problems after the Tyler situation got resolved, but apparently there's a whole other layer of problems I didn't even know existed. Has anyone else dealt with in-laws who don't believe you're actually pregnant? Because I seriously don't know how to handle this level of bizarre family problems. Information to add, since people are probably wondering, yes, I offered to show Helen my ultrasound photos, but she said phone photos can be misleading and suggested I bring Jake to my next appointment so he can see for himself, which is ridiculous because he's seen the photos and knows about all my appointments. He just hasn't been able to come because of work scheduling. Also, Tyler's been asking to video call with Lisa more often since Saturday, and I'm worried he's going to tell her about the whole disaster, which will probably make everything even more complicated than it already is.